Hi, Recapped here. Imagine what would happen if you are driving through a tunnel, but it collapses when you are in the middle of it. You have to survive about a month before getting rescued, with just a little water. Well, that's exactly what happens in this story. Subscribe and turn on all notifications for more recaps. Lee Jung-soo is on his way home early because it's his daughter's birthday. On the way, he is on call with his wife, Se-hyun. He says he will be home by 6 p.m. with cake. But he hangs up because he gets a business call. On his way, he enters a tunnel. After a deal is done, he hangs up. But realizing he is all alone in the tunnel, he gets a little freaked out, because there was not anyone ahead of him or behind him. The lights on the ceiling start to blink. Weird noises could be heard. After a few seconds, the tunnel collapses and everything goes black. Several minutes later, Lee regains consciousness and turns on the car lights. His car is crushed in between rocks. All the glasses are broken and shattered. His car's footrest is filled with rocks. He reaches for his phone to call 911. The call does not connect because there was no reception, so he moves his seat a little backwards and gets some reception. Finally, the call connects. He tells about his situation, that the tunnel has collapsed and he is trapped. The dispatcher asks for his name and which tunnel he was in. Lee tells him his name, and he is in Hado Tunnel on Route 18. He is told help will be there in 5 minutes. When the emergency services arrive, they are surprised to see most of the tunnel has collapsed, because they thought it was a prank. The situation makes its way through the whole South Korean news. People are terrified after hearing about the collapse of a newly built tunnel. Se-hyun is totally shocked after hearing about Lee in news. The tunnel's north entrance is collapsed and south is still intact. So, a rescue camp is arranged near the south entrance. Lee calls 911 again. This time he is connected with the rescue camp, and Kim picks up the call. Lee is really agitated, asks to speak with who is in charge. Kim tells him he will have to calm down first because he is in charge. Lee has 78% battery left on his phone, a cake and 2 500 ml bottles of water. Kim tells him the rescue could take a long time, so he will have to last on those supplies as long as possible. He tells him the water will probably last a week and the cake won't last long. He should eat it soon. Lee is advised not to touch his lips to the bottle, because touching his lips to the bottle will transfer bacteria into it, which will pollute the water. He will have to last at least more than 7 days on only water. Kim asks Lee to remember what he said about water, and he will be rescued before the bottles are empty. Lee tells him he drove in quite far, and there is a ceiling fan in front of him. Well, that is quite a crucial information. So, on the blueprints, Kim marks location of the fans. In the tunnel, 7 locations have ceiling fans. Now, Lee is getting frustrated. He asks Kim, can he be really saved or not? Kim assures him he will be out soon. They will talk at noon every day, so he should turn off his phone to save battery. Lee moves to backseat and makes a little space to sleep. A meeting is arranged to discuss about the situation. The tunnel is 1.9 kilometers long. Hado Tunnel number 2 is being constructed nearby. So, Kang recommends to halt the construction, because the explosions during construction may cause the tunnel to collapse more and lessen the chance of Lee's survival. Se-hyun calls Lee. She is totally worried, crying, but she has to keep it short. He also talks with his daughter Soo-jin. The next day, drones are released from the south entrance for inspection, but all drones fall to ground. The iron ore in the tunnel walls is blocking the signal. So, Kim and one of his colleagues drive into the south entrance wearing full protective suit. Few minutes later, they come to stop, because the tunnel ahead is collapsed. Kim gets out of the car, walks near the debris to look around. His colleague honks the horn by mistake. Lee calls Kim, asks him if someone is nearby because he heard the horn. Kim tells him he is nearby. Hearing this, Lee is totally happy. Once again, weird noises could be heard, and the tunnel starts collapsing again. Kim tells him to lie down as low as he can and rushes to the driver's seat. He starts driving the car in reverse as fast he can. Somehow they get out of the tunnel safe and uninjured. Everyone seeing this, gather around to see what's going on. Kim comes out of the car and calls immediately Lee and tells him about the collapse. Lee tells him he is just a little caved in but he is safe, and #3 is written on the fan. Now Se-hyun is at the camp, so Kim gives her the phone. Lee talks with her a little. Outside the tunnel, the rescue operation starts to pick up the pace. They plan to drill from above, at the same time make a way through south entrance. 3 days have passed since the collapse. Lee drinks water in small portions and eats from the cake to survive. He reaches for the trunk of the car and finds some first aid, a t-shirt, sanitizer, 2 torches. He finds out someone is nearby because he sees a dog. He goes to the person's car through the fan and debris, finds out it's Mina. She is totally stuck in her seat. He gets in the car and tells her a rescue operation is on its way to get them out. He tries to lift the rock, but he is not able to. She asks for some water. He is hesitant at first, but gives her some water, even if it's a survival situation, but he has some humanity. They listen to classical music on radio. Then he gets back to his car and falls asleep, but wakes up to her call. She again asks for water, but when he reaches her with water, she was deceased. Lee gets really frustrated this time. He somehow manages to move the rock a little, but he sees a steel rod is torn through her from the back of the seat. Now the poor dog is alone but stays with Lee. Now his bottles are about to be empty. So Kim tells him to store his urine in a bottle. 9 days have passed since the collapse. Lee catches the dog eating something. After realizing that's dog food, he gets the whole packet from Mina's car. He separates it between them and hides the packet. As he is playing with the dog's collar, the door falls off. He is happy now, because he has enough space to stand. He gets out of the car, stretches a little, and tries to find water supply, finds a pipe connected to the walls. But as expected, there is no water. Anyone in this situation can go out of his or her mind. But Lee, in order to pass time, has started drawing pictures and stick figures of what he can think and draw. He has also written numbers as how long he's going to be in there. He marks 24 with a circle, because Kim told him that excavation has been started, and most likely he will be out in 10 days, which makes Lee happy. With no other choice left for water, Lee tries to drink urine when he is just about to do it. He hears water dropping on floor from nearby, so he rushes to its source and collects some water drop by drop. 92.4 channel decides to relay message to him in case his battery dies, as it is the only channel that still reaches him. On the site, excavation has been done. The drill has touched the floor, but Lee tells Kim he didn't see any drill or hear sound of it nearby. They check the blueprint again to see what they did wrong. The engineer who built the tunnel informs them that 12 fans were installed on 6 locations, but the blueprint shows that fans are 7 locations, which means the blueprint is wrong. Now all of them are frustrated because 17 days of effort went to waste. Lee is about 150 meters away from the point they dug, so they have to start from scratch again. When Lee hears this, he is devastated. He shouts in frustration and falls on ground. Sehyun tells him to calm down, but Lee is now hopeless. He tells her to take care of Sujin and herself. Sehyun warns him he better not die there. If he dies, then both Sujin and she will die as well. He has to stay strong and make it out alive. This is his last call because his battery dies before the call ends. 23 days have passed since. The last contact with Lee was on 17th day, so no one even thinks he is alive, because he is out there with no food or water, in cold weather, injured. Instead of sitting idle, he is trying to find a way out, going through tight spaces, crawling under rocks. He has also got deep injuries from this, but keeps the injuries disinfected by first aid. In a meeting, it is decided that the construction of the tunnel number 2 will continue. Sehyun, with a sad heart, signs on a form giving her consent to continue the construction, because a worker had died 2 days earlier during work. After that, through 94.2 radio channel, she speaks to Lee, although he can't reply back. She tells him about the construction of tunnel number 2. She is not sure if he is alive. After hearing this, he tries hard to turn on his phone. He bites his battery, puts it in the phone, tries turning it on, but it doesn't turn on. The rescue work has stopped. He gets out of the car and again tries his best to find a way out. On site, Kim tells his colleague to lower him through the hole that has been dug by drilling. If he gets caught, he will take care of it. He takes the equipment with him, which can detect even the slightest sound. He gets down the hole in a capsule, and after reaching the bottom, turns on the equipment. He inserts the sound detector through a gap between rocks, but no sound is detected. The explosion in the nearby tunnel is going to happen, so he is pulled out forcefully. The detector part is broken and stays there. The dog senses the threat and barks loudly. Lee hears the barking, comes out as quickly as possible and gets inside his car. But the explosives are detonated. Not feeling safe, he gets inside the fan. Seeing Mina's car, he gets an idea. He starts honking the horn of the car. Dust and pieces of rock are falling everywhere. On site, Kim is frustrated. A worker yells at him because the broken equipment was expensive. But He sees the equipment has picked up some sound. So he takes the equipment and hears the sound of the horn. Then he goes near the hole and hears the horn, which confirms Lee is alive. He calls on radio to stop the second explosion. But the explosion is done again. Lee is laying there honking horn. The dust is falling on him. 35 days have been passed since the collapse. Finally, rescue workers reach Lee's car. They see Lee is on the ground, covered with dust and rock, near Mina's car, hand on the steering. He is just laying there for more than 10 days. Rescue workers carry out Lee on stretcher, with his and the dog's eyes covered. The whole crowd outside the tunnel cover them. Se-hyun is crying in joy to see him after his struggle between life and death for 35 days. He is taken to the hospital immediately by helicopter. His rescue news spreads through media. After getting recovered, Lee is with Se-hyun driving to her mom's. They enter a tunnel. Lee is a little scared when they go through the tunnel. After they cross the tunnel, he is relieved and happy.